Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're going to embark on a really fascinating, deeply researched thought experiment. We spend a lot of time analyzing history as this series of inevitable dominoes falling exactly as they were supposed to. But what if we just reset the board? Today we're going to look at a timeline that branches off from our own in a major, catastrophic way, leading to a drastically different modern world. I want you to imagine a reality where the iconic, history-defining events of 1989 they never happened. No sledgehammers breaking apart the concrete, no joyful reunions, no end to that intense ideological standoff. Instead, imagine that the world remained locked in a permanent, hyper-militarized Cold War deadlock that extended all the way into our present day. How would that single, unbroken barrier reshape global economics, technology, and literally the psychology of humanity? Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to the year 2026. But look, this is absolutely not the 2026 of globalized digital economies and open borders that we know. As we step into this hyper-militarized, dystopian alternate present, we're looking at a world defined entirely by a rigid ideological divide. The geopolitical landscape hasn't softened. It has completely calcified. Our explainer today is going to dissect exactly how this permanent division manifests across every single level of human existence, starting right from the ground up. Section 1, the 2026 Mega Fortress, Evolution of the Wall. You really can't understand this alternate world without looking at the physical scars slicing right through the heart of Europe. Because in this timeline, the wall didn't just stay up, it evolved. And this brilliantly illustrates that shift. The 1989 wall from our history books was imposing, sure, but fundamentally, it was just concrete, guard towers, and barbed wire. But by 2026, it's transformed into a high-tech, automated mega-fortress. We're talking about a barricade bristling with state-of-the-art facial recognition cameras, tracking every single movement. We've got autonomous drone patrols monitoring from above, and laser-guided security systems designed with ruthless efficiency to prevent absolutely any movement between east and west. It is just an impenetrable machine of isolation. Section 2, the two tech ecosystems, the digital and economic split. So what actually happens when you drop an impenetrable technological fortress right down the middle of the world? Well, to survive a permanent standoff, these two systems had to adapt entirely independently. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it breaks that down neutrally. The Western ecosystem maintained capitalism and progressed into a digital reality pretty similar to ours, but with a massive defining twist: a heavy, almost obsessive emphasis on defense spending and cyber warfare. Meanwhile, the Eastern ecosystem couldn't just rely on the old methods. The Soviet bloc was forced to rapidly modernize its command economy just to keep pace and survive. So instead of an open internet, they engineered a completely isolated, state-controlled network, heavily reliant on artificial intelligence to track its populace. They call this the Red Internet. Just let that sink in for a second. If you were an East Berliner living under this system, your digital life wouldn't be a space of freedom or global connection. The Red Internet is an all-encompassing digital surveillance apparatus managed by a highly modernized Stasi. Imagine an AI network that doesn't track your shopping habits, but instead processes millions of data points a second to meticulously monitor your political loyalty, flagging dissident thoughts before they're even spoken. The whole concept of privacy doesn't just slowly erode, it's structurally eliminated by the state. Now I want you to imagine just trying to cross your own city. You're in Berlin and you need to get to the other side. You're not just crossing a street here, you are stepping between two completely alien worlds operating on fundamentally different financial systems, cultural values, and historical narratives. To cross this 2026 wall, you'd have to pass through completely absurd bureaucratic hurdles. Step 1, intensive psychological screening to ensure you aren't a threat or a flight risk. Step 2, rigorous political clearance. A once united metropolis is now effectively two different planets sharing the exact same geographic coordinates. Crazy, right? Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. A frozen global map, global gridlock. So if a single city is this divided, the butterfly effect on the rest of the Earth is just staggering. First off, without the collapse of the Soviet Union, that massive wave of globalization we saw in the 1990s and 2000s, it simply never occurred. International trade and travel are severely stunted, keeping the global economy in a localized chokehold. Meanwhile, European nations exist in a constant state of high alert, staring down massive conventional and nuclear arsenals stationed permanently along the Iron Curtain. And this gridlock doesn't stop at the atmosphere either. The intense terrestrial standoff pushes the conflict upward, turning space exploration into a fiercely competitive military arena. We're talking about a fully weaponized Earth orbit, dominated by rival, heavily armed Soviet and American space stations.
Section 4, the psychological shadow, the human cost.
What does it actually feel like to be a citizen of the year 2026 in this timeline? Well, the dominant emotions aren't patriotic fervor or revolutionary zeal. They're deep cynicism and profound exhaustion. Just imagine the psychological toll on the citizens living in this reality. We are talking about multiple generations who have grown up on permanent high alert. They are living every single day under the permanent shadow of mutually assured destruction. For them, the threat of nuclear annihilation isn't some historical footnote. It's a daily weather forecast. The hope for reunification has been entirely bred out of the cultural consciousness.
So, the crucial point here is how this mindset fundamentally alters human perspective. To the citizens of 2026, the wall is no longer a political mistake. It's considered, quote, an immutable law of human geography. It's no longer viewed as a temporary political aberration. It is seen as a permanent fact of nature, literally as permanent as a mountain range or an ocean. When a manufactured barrier stands for that long, the human mind adapts by normalizing it, completely transforming a concrete wall into an unchangeable law of reality.
Which brings us to a final lingering thought. When ideologies refuse to compromise, how long can concrete and fear hold the world hostage? In this timeline, the answer is for generations. It really leaves us pondering the incredible fragility of our own history. You know, the dominoes fell our way in 1989, but this journey shows us the ultimate, devastating cost of ideological stubbornness if they hadn't. Thank you so much for diving into this alternate reality with me today in this explainer. And remember to keep questioning the foundations of the world around you. Catch you next time.